Assalamu everyone. My name is Mashhood, and I lead the engineering team at systematica.pk. Super excited to see all the enthusiasm for Fedora. So just to reiterate some of the things that have been said, essentially the whole purpose of this meetup is to bring more awareness about Linux in general in our society. Okay? Nowadays, most of the people still work on Windows machines, development side Windows पे होती है, सारा काम Windows पे होता है, and that's completely fine. That's a very big, strong, good ecosystem. But there's also something else out there, and there's also something else out there that is open source, that is free, that you can go out and use in whatever way you like, right? Windows को जब आप use करते हैं तो आप Windows को source code inspect नहीं कर सकते. That's a proprietary tool, and most of us, unfortunately, use pirated copies, which is technically illegal as well. But in terms of products like Linux, it's out there, it's just free. उन्होंने आपके लिए काम करके सारा कुछ दिया हुआ है. All you have to do is just take it and use it, and then change it if you like it, and whatever. So I'm very happy कि ये the part of the Google Coding program जो Nasir ने अभी complete किया है, and the fact that he's gone around and done this meetup. So I'm really impressed कि उसने सारा setup किया है. I've been in the community for some time, so he's obviously taking a lot of help from everyone in order to do this. But I definitely think he deserves a round of applause for organizing this and bringing us all together for this. Now, so you have an idea about Linux. How many of you guys use Linux? Just show of hands. Good. A lot of you use Linux, right? So we were trying to think what would be the most obvious thing to do today, right? कि हम लोगों ने लिनक्स के बारे में बात करनी है, हम लोगों ने मेडिस क्रिएट करनी है. What can we show you in Linux that is super awesome? And one of the things that we came across almost immediately is something that is native to Linux is containerization. तो यहाँ पे कितने लोग हैं जो Docker या containerization को भी use कर रहे हैं? Awesome. तो most people are still not aware of this thing called containerization, and this talk today that I'm going to be doing is essentially going to be a hands-on kind of workshop where I'll be not just showing you a Linux environment, but also using Docker inside of it. And sometimes the only hang of it is that, yeah, ये बहुत scary है, we don't know how it's going to look like, how it's going to work like, and that's the whole point of doing this. We're trying to break that hang and try to getting for you to use this essentially. Okay, so a bit about me. I've already introduced myself. My name is Mashhood. I work at systematica. How many people have heard of systematica over here? Okay, quite a few hands. Very nice. We are essentially a travel platform. Sell tickets online, hotels online, stuff like that. Primarily for Pakistan. So check us out if you're traveling soon. All of these icons that you see over here, most of them, these are different communities that are working in Karachi. We're doing technical meetups like this one. अभी हमारे पास सुबह को Angular पाकिस्तान का meetup था जिसमें we were talking about different new things about the Angular framework जो Google का एक और framework है इसका open source framework है. Likewise, next month we have a React Karachi meetup. Devin Code is a community that helps other communities, including this one, so on and so forth. We've got a lot of stuff over here. One other thing I'd like to point out for those who are development related and are interested. Google also has a program called Google Developer Experts, something I am a part of. Part of the program is for the experts to come out and share things, right? हम लोग सारा कुछ अपने काम कर रहे होते हैं हर रोज on a daily basis. हम लोग सीख रहे होते हैं बहुत कुछ, but this is information that we keep to ourselves or to our companies in most part, right? So if you are the sort of guy who wants to come out, talk more, share more, and doesn't have to be on stage, it could be writing blogs, it could be creating videos, it could be doing podcasts, it could be in any form. As long as you are an expert and you're sharing information, you can be part of this program as well. And this is essentially a community. सारे सब लोग चीजें share कर रहे होते हैं, वो एक दूसरे को assist कर रहे होते हैं. And in case you do also speak, then you get opportunities to go and speak outside of Pakistan in different conferences. So I essentially get to speak. I was already doing this before, but now I get a little more opportunity to go and talk across all over the world. So in case anybody's interested, do reach out to me afterwards, and I can tell you a bit more about this. Docker containers. So how many people have heard the word container over here? Okay, excellent. Everyone has heard of the word containers. And I hope when I say that, you don't mean the containers we see on trucks, okay? But the ideology is the same thing. So you have the right picture in your mind. Containers से पहले क्या होता था? VMs, right? We would have these large files जिसके अंदर पूरा operating system, उसकी सारी configurations, उसकी सारी फाइलें एक फाइल में भर होती थी और वो एक फाइल बेचारी इधर से उधर जाती थी, उधर इधर डिप्लॉय होती थी, उधर से इधर डिप्लॉय होती थी, उससे स्पिन अप होती थी machines XYZ, right? Now this has worked fine, but उसका issue ये होता था. For example, now I have this application deployed और मैंने एक और machine add करनी है उसमें. Now in order to do that, I need the image, the VM, और उस फाइल को जब मैं ट्रांसफर करूंगा तो let's say अगर मैं Linux की VM को यूज कर रहा हूँ तो Linux की base VM will be about 300 to 400 MB, right? अब वो 300-400 MB पहले वो डाउनलोड करेगा, उसको फिर वो डिप्लॉय करेगा. That single task of deploying another instance for my application will take several minutes now, right? Obviously, when you deploy a VM, you have to boot the machine as well, right? Because obviously you are starting an operating system. उसमें भी time लगता है, right? So this small thing can take several minutes to spin up, and that's very slow for most of our applications today. हमारे जितने भी applications हैं उसमें बहुत सारे erratic ट्रैफिक आ रहा होता है, एकदम से स्पाइक्स आते हैं, कोई फेसबुक किसी ने पोस्ट शेयर कर दी, वायरल हो गई, एकदम से बहुत सारे लोग आ गए, राइट? सो यू नीड टू बी एबल टू स्पिन अप रियली फास्ट. दैट वाज वन साइड ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम. द अदर साइड ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम वाज कि एज डेवलपर्स वी ऑल हैव आवर डेवलपमेंट एनवायरनमेंट्स, and those of us who are lucky are able to set up our environments on the machines that we're using. हम लोग आज जाके पहले जावा इंस्टॉल करते हैं या Node.js इंस्टॉल करते हैं, वो सब कुछ खराब हो जाता है, फिर हम Windows को रीसेट करते हैं, then we try again, maybe we're lucky this time, we probably get the wrong version of Node then, ठीक है ना? At some point we are able to install all of the databases and stuff on our machine and then we use it. बड़ी companies में there's more standard way of doing this, and that was VMs as well, right? अगर किसी डेवलपर को चलाना है, यार ये तो image, इसको run करो, this is how you're going to run this application, this is how you're going to edit the code, and this is how everything is going to work. Unfortunately, if I'm running an operating system on top of an operating system, my machine is going to slow down, right? My experience is not as good. So these were all issues that we were facing with VMs, and we were trying to look for a better way, a more efficient way to do this, right? And this is where containers come in. Containers के अंदर वो करते क्या हैं कि so we have over here an image that's differentiating between a virtual machine and a container. So in both cases, the thing that hasn't changed is the base, right? We have something called a physical server, एक machine कहीं पे कहीं खड़ी हुई है और उसके ऊपर एक operating system चल रहा है, and that could be anything, Windows, Linux, Mac, whatever. इसके ऊपर normally हम लोग एक hypervisor के through पूरा OS run करते थे पहले. That was how the VMs work. Each of this is a VM, और या तो सेम भी VM हो सकता है और डिफरेंट VMs भी हो सकते हैं. I don't really care. यहाँ पे डिफरेंस क्या है कि यहाँ पे using something called Docker, and there are many other containerization technologies out there, I can effectively create an isolated environment that looks just like the VM, but is actually based on my host machine, right? Now, what this actually means, you might not understand at this stage, and doesn't matter, because we will actually try it out, and I'll show it to you what this actually means. So we've talked about this. The biggest issue with VMs is you need dedicated hardware, or if I'm running an OS on top and of another OS, I need to allocate CPUs to it. So, for example, मेरे पास एक 8 core की machine है, I can probably run 20 VMs on it, but it's going to crash the machine, obviously. So, and an entire guest operating system does not run those VMs as well, which is obviously wasted resources. So, VM एक container पे होता क्या है at the end of the day? A container is a distilled form of a VM, essentially. ठीक है ना? What are the most important things that I want isolated from everything else of my host system? कि अगर मैं उस container में जाऊँ और मैं उसके अंदर जाके एक जो आती है rm-rf/ करते हैं, which is a Linux command, जिसको कहते हैं कि जितनी भी फाइल डिस्क उड़ा दो, ठीक है ना? मैं अगर उस पर जाके करूँ तो मेरे सिस्टम को कोई फर्क, मेरे होस्ट सिस्टम को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, right? So that is your root file system. Your root file system needs to be isolated. कि अगर उस पर कोई malfunction हो या कोई चीज खराब हो तो मेरा host system affect ना हो. Your processes need to be isolated. Your memory needs to be isolated. Now that doesn't mean you need dedicated memory for that container. but you need to have a sandbox around the memory कि इस zone के अंदर सिर्फ मेरी इस container की memory के processes चलेंगे, right? And why is that sandbox there? Again, so that when a process runs and if it is going to do something bad, let's say, it will not affect the host system. मेरे जो underlying infrastructure है, जो मेरे सारे containers को run कर रहा है, उसको कोई effect ना हो, मेरे containers एक एक करके spin up होते रहे, वो चलते रहे, and so on and so forth. And then I need connections to my network interfaces and devices. This is a bit tricky because isolating this is hard, but we'll also see how we're doing this within Docker. आपका question?
चीज के लिए डेडिकेटेड मतलब रैम या स्टोरेज जो है कॉल आउट की जाएगी। अगर किसी सूरत में उसमें जो है ना मतलब फाइल उठा दी गई तो उस डेडिकेटेड हिस्से में मतलब डिफरेंस आएगा या नहीं आएगा, ये समझ मतलब उसमें इफेक्ट होगा कि नहीं होगा।
देखो तो से आप कंटेनर्स की ना बात करो, राइट? तो कंटेनर्स में the way we do it is कि हम लोग अपने होस्ट सिस्टम के ऊपर जो है ना फाइल सिस्टम एंड मेमोरी को एलोकेट करते हैं, राइट? हम लोग कहते हैं ये जगह जो है ना इस कंटेनर की है। अब इस कंटेनर के अंदर जो भी होगा ना उसके इस फाइल सिस्टम के अंदर होगा, ठीक है? उससे होता ही है अगर मैं कंटेनर के अंदर कोई चीज करना चाहूँ ना होस्ट सिस्टम को डिसेबल करने के लिए, तो वो मैं नहीं कर सकता, राइट? बिकॉज आई एम फिक्स्ड सैंडबॉक्स के अंदर। अगर मैं होस्ट सिस्टम से कंटेनर की फाइल रीड करना चाहूँ तो वो मैं कर सकता हूँ, ठीक है ना? बिकॉज आई एम इन दैट, आई एम आउटसाइड द सैंडबॉक्स, ठीक है? सैंडबॉक्स को मैं कंट्रोल कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है ना? तो दैट कैन डेफिनेटली हैपन, वो हम लोग एक्सप्लोर भी करेंगे थोड़ा सा। ऑलराइट, सो हाउ डज दिस ऑल वर्क? डॉकर क्या चीज है इफेक्टिवली? तो डॉकर इफेक्टिवली एक डीमन है, एक प्रोसेस है दैट अलाउज यू टू क्रिएट कंटेनर्स, ठीक है? वो आपको एक एसेंशियली इज जस्ट डीमन, एक बैकग्राउंड में एक चीज चल रही है, आपको कमांड कहते हैं कि आप मुझे कंटेनर बना दो, तो वो आपको एक आइसोलेट कंटेनर क्रिएट करके दे देता है जिसको फिर आप लोग यूज कर सकते हैं, राइट? एक कंटेनर से हम लोग इमेजेस क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? जिससे हमने जावा की इमेज क्रिएट करनी है और जब हम उसको रन करते हैं इमेज को तो वैसे कंटेनर रन है। यहाँ पे कितने लोग Node.js को यूज करते हैं? Right, quite a few. So this is an example. This is a simple command that I run on the terminal. And what does this do? This downloads the image for Node.js. अब अगर ये मैं VM में बात कर रहा होता तो मेरे पास एक मल्टी GB इमेज डाउनलोड होती जिसमें पूरा होस्ट ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम आता, सब कुछ आता। When I do this, it downloads the most smallest part it can, जिसमें Node की सारी चीजें होंगी and any other dependencies Node wants for the host system to run this completely, ठीक है ना? तो at the end of the day, I have a very minimalistic package that I can run, and what I wanted to show you, actually I'll show it to you in the next thing, ठीक है? What I have when I do this is I have this image now pulled on my machine, और फिर मैं इसको जब run करूँगा तो वो container के form में run होगी। So I'm pulling an image and then I'm running it into a container. Now, in order to find the image, I will go on something called hub.docker.com. Right? Now, I've already said this. Docker is just one type of containerization technology. There are many others, and there are now some people say there are better ones out there than Docker. So we'll have to see over the next year or so if somebody else comes up and takes over Docker as well. But for now, Docker is considered as the industry standard. अगर आपको कोई भी project मिलेगा उसमें most probably Docker इस्तेमाल हो रहा होगा. So in order to find an image within Docker, आप जाएंगे hub.docker.com पे, and over there you can see all the different images which have been built for you already and they're available for you to pull and use almost immediately. तो इसमें you can see there's some Apache images यहाँ पे मैंने search करके दिखाई हैं. इसके अंदर कुछ images हैं which are official, which brings me to my next slide. Sorry, इसमें कुछ images हैं which are official, and this is important. So images shown over here are images built by the official team and the community, right? So let's say I have a particular requirement. मुझे node चाहिए, मगर मुझे node के साथ for some reason Java भी चाहिए. I'm doing something weird, right? So I can create that image and I can put it on Hub. And if somebody else wants it, they can pull that and use that. But why is it important to use official images only? Is because you have to go and check what's in the image before using it. Because potentially there could be something very dangerous in that image as well, right? आप उसके अंदर अपना code run कर रहे होंगे and maybe it could steal all your code or something else. So you have to be very careful when you're downloading images. Usually recommend कि आप official images इस्तेमाल करें. And otherwise, if you do use a custom one, then always check कि वो उसके अंदर क्या चीजें install हो रही हैं before starting to use it. These polls will also give you an indication of what are the popular ones, so you can always pick up the most popular one as well. That will be usually the right selection. HTTPD is for Apache. Apache is a very common web server जो हम लोग इस्तेमाल करते हैं. अब for example मैंने एक image Apache की चाहिए, मुझे Apache server run करना है अपने पास. तो the next thing that once I've chosen the image, the next thing I want to do is मेरा version कौन सा इस्तेमाल करना है. And this is one of the things that literally shines out in Docker. अगर मैंने currently एक database से इस्तेमाल करनी है, I want to use MongoDB, and मैंने MongoDB को install कर लिया अपने system पे, right? मेरे पास machine थी, मैंने MongoDB install कर ली. I installed 3.0. कल मैंने 3.2 install करनी है. What will I do? I have to uninstall the first one. I cannot easily have two different versions of the same database running on my machine, right? In Docker, I can have every single version running in parallel on different ports without a problem, right? And this is again something I'll show to you in a few minutes. So over here you can see all the supported tags. One thing I want to point out is you'll see that they're normal tags, and then you have these -alpine tags. Now the community has again worked hard to create the most minimal part of the kernel that is required to be replicated. And Alpine is that smallest version. Alpine is essentially a Linux distribution that is just 5 MB in size. I think it's smaller now, but last time I checked it was 5 MB in size. एक मैं पूरी Linux distribution को run कर सकता हूँ within 5 MB, right? And that is where the power of containers really shines. तो अगर मैं इसको dash alpine करूँगा तो मेरा Apache जो है वो alpine के version में run होगा, तो it's going to be significantly smaller. If I run the normal versions, तो उसके अंदर जाकर आप Docker file में check करेंगे कि वो किसको extend कर रहा है, right? So it might be extending let's say Ubuntu or Fedora, तो जो वो size होगा उसकी binary का 300 या 400 MB वो फिर उसके अंदर include हो सकता है. So this is a URL to note down if you want to play with Docker but not on your computer. Let's say you can't install Docker on your computer for some reason. There is an online website जहाँ पे इन्हें पूरा configure दिया हुआ है. You can go on here, you can sign up, and then you can just start playing with Docker on your laptop on the web. So you don't have to install anything on your computer. So now we're going to move on to the more demo part of the presentation, where I just want to show you a few things that we can do using Docker. So this is my terminal. यहाँ पे कितने लोग terminal पे काम करते हैं? Just show of hands, right? A lot of people, right? So if you're using Linux, you normally will be also used to the terminal जो हमारे पास आता है. This is I'm obviously using Mac OS X. So Mac OS X is a Unix shell which is very similar to Linux. So all the commands are basically the same. And on top of that, I'm using something called Fish. So if you see something, stuff like auto-completion and things like that, that's another tool on top of my Linux base that helps me do things like auto-completion. So I want to start off by first just running docker run hello world. अब इस एक कमांड ने क्या किया? इस एक कमांड ने essentially एक इमेज थी जिसका नाम था hello world, उसको डॉकर रिपोजिटरी से पुल किया और फिर उसको रन किया इनटू अ कंटेनर. कंटेनर के अंदर सिर्फ इट वाज एन अल्पाइन इमेज, इट वाज वेरी स्मॉल इमेज. कंटेनर के अंदर ऑल इट डिड वाज क्रिएट दिस आउटपुट एंड देन द कंटेनर टर्मिनेटेड. ठीक है, सो इट वाज अ शॉर्ट लिविंग कंटेनर. तो उसने यहाँ पे आउटपुट शो किया and kill kar diya. Now this is not a very useful example for Docker, so we'll get into something more useful. But I'm just trying to reiterate the process. So there's a lot of stuff happening here that we don't realize because it's super fast. What happened over here was an equivalent of कि मैंने एक नई system पूरा boot किया, उसमें जाके मैंने एक command run किया echo का, और फिर ये चीज़ें echo किया और फिर मैंने system को shut down किया, right? That's what just happened in Docker world right now. In order to better illustrate this, let's try something else. So there's a command called Docker images. Or Docker images के साथ, when I do that, you'll see that I have many images on my system. Now, what is an image? Image is essentially a block of files, a block of functionality that I need to use at some point. You'll see that I have the various different versions. I have the Word, I have Node, I have Python, I have Redis. Node ke andar alone, I have the 8.11 Jesse, I have the 10.13, I have the 11, I was like 3.6 ho sakta. And Python, even for Python, I'll probably have multiple versions like 3.6 Slam, there's 3.6 Alpine, right? And all of these are just different versions of VMs that could be VMs that I'm running on my own machine, right? I was thinking an interesting thing here, that is for stuff like Postgres. यहाँ पे कितने लोगों को Postgres database के बारे में पता है? Right? Postgres database is very similar to MySQL or MS SQL, Microsoft SQL. और यहाँ पे कितने लोग database को use करते हैं? Just so that I'm aware, okay, almost everyone uses a database. That is good. So Postgres is just another database, right? It's a SQL database. It's open source. It's free again. It's not proprietary. So this is also available currently on my machine. It's the latest version मैंने रखा हुआ है, right? So I can choose not to pick a version. I can say कि जो भी अभी latest है उसको solver आके Postgres से 9.5 होगा, कौन सा latest होगा. And there are many other things over here that are not even relevant. But what I want to show you next is I just started a database, right? मेरे system के ऊपर Postgres install नहीं हुई थी, right? So in order for me to use Postgres on my computer, I would just call docker run Postgres version. It pulled the image, जो मेरे पास already पड़ी हुई थी images के अंदर, and then it created a container and ran the database. This is a fully functional Postgres database running on my system in an isolated environment, right? अब इसका फायदा ये है, because it's isolated, I can change the tab, I can spin up the next version, 9.7 of the database, and that will also run on a different port. ठीक है ना? इसका by default it runs on port 5432 for right now, and the important thing right now is कि मैंने इसको port कोई बताया भी नहीं है, right? मैंने अभी सिर्फ container run किया हुआ है. So this is running in its own world. अभी हमने कोई drivers कुछ link नहीं किया हुआ है इसके साथ. So this is a database that's running. It's not accessible. It's just something that I've started. और उससे start करके हमने आपको कह दिया कि I'm ready to be used now. So this is a fresh database. Obviously इसमें कोई इसमें default user configured होगा, सारा कुछ होगा. For documentation, we would obviously go on Docker Hub and we would look at there. उसके अंदर बताएंगे कि इसमें ये इसका default user है, उसका password ये है, इसको setup इस तरह कर सकते हैं, इसको seed इस तरह कर सकते हैं and whatnot, right? I'm going to do Control C, and my database is gone now, right? If I want to check I'm running a database, I can do that too. So let me come over here again. I'm going to do. So Navicat is a tool for Mac जहाँ पे मैं एक database को check कर सकता हूँ, run करके check कर सकता हूँ कि is it working or not. Now before I do that, I will first check, am I running any containers right now? I'm not running any containers right now. That means मेरे पास कोई Postgres या किसी चीज़ नहीं चल रही. And if I try accessing my local host or container, so it won't work because obviously there is nothing running on my local host right now. I haven't installed it. There's nothing over there, right? I'm going to run this again. Notice that again I've specified no ports. I've not done anything. Database is ready to accept the connections. Okay, I come back over here. I try again. Still nothing happens, right? So why am I not able to connect to my database? Because I have not yet defined a way to connect to it, right? Now, if this is an isolated environment, I need a way for my host system to connect to my container in a very specific way, right? And the way that is done is using special commands, right? So यहाँ पे मेरे पास I'm using the run command. इसके अंदर if I want to run, so just before I do that, I'll do docker run help just so that anybody, sorry. So when I do docker run, I have options for all of these commands that I can run. I can attach stuff, I can add posts, I can configure different things around CPU, attachment, environments, GPUs, health stuff. You can obviously go into a lot more detail. The thing I'm interested in right now is, okay, I want to access this using a particular port. So, iske andar, I can publish a particular port of my container to my host using the -p flag, right? तो मैं इसको कहूँगा -p, ये मेरा container का port है और ये मेरे host का port है. इन दोनों को आप link कर दें so that I can access what's inside this container, right? So let's try that and see what happens. No, since it's done doing that. Exact same thing has happened as before. We've started a container that includes this database. And this time, when I opened the connection, it kind of showed me the Postgres database. और इसके अंदर मैं इसको खोल सकता हूँ, उसमें मैं databases create कर सकता हूँ. Now I'm able to connect to the database and use it as per need basis. इसके अगर मैं event configuration में जाऊँगा, तो again I'm using standard ports here. That's why I didn't have to configure anything. If I edit connection, I'm connected to the local host on 5432. That is the exact same port that I mentioned over there. Now, if I wanted to run another different Postgres version of my system, I would simply run the same command, मगर मैं उसकी port को change कर दूँगा, right? So I can use 5433, and inside the container it will still connect to 5432, and I can run a completely new version, right? And like this, I can have 10, 15, 30, and each of them is very lightweight. It's only running the database process, and that's it, right? So this container is lightweight, which allows me to use multiple databases, multiple applications, multiple systems running on my system with ease and no issues, essentially, right? So it's super efficient and super useful. So this was one use case that I've described to you, जो databases के साथ है. Right. One more use case that is very common is, okay, let's say I'm working on something like Python. How many people have used Python over here? Right, quite a few. That's pretty nice. Python can be I need, so excellent. So there's a concept called virtual environments, which essentially helps me isolate my environment between my different projects, right? That's an excellent way of isolating projects. मेरा जो तरीका है वो क्या है कि because what virtual environment doesn't allow you to do is कि अगर for example मेरा एक version Python 2.7 पे है, एक 3.6 पे है, तो उन दोनों को मैं साथ नहीं manage कर सकता, because in that case I need to have Python 2.7 and Python 3.6 installed on my computer, right? And when I do that, आपने notice किया होगा जिन्होंने Python use किया है, then you have Python and then you have Python 3 करके आपका ऐसी binary बन जाती है, right? And then you have Python 3.6 की binary बन जाती है if you have additional versions on it. So that can obviously be annoying as well. So in our databases, I can essentially run containers just for a Python environment. So how would I do that? I would just run, docker run right? I ran Python 3.6 container just now, but nothing happened. So what happened over there? It initialized a container with a Python environment, and then the container by default did not have a command to run. So what happens when it doesn't have a command to run? It simply quits, right? So a better way of doing this, yes. So I've now run Python 3.6 Alpine, and I made two changes to the command, and उसके अंदर एक change मैंने ये किया, मैं इसमें एक flag डाल दिया -it करके, and the second thing I've added is sh at the end. Sh is a shell in Linux. Okay? Bash is a shell, sh is a shell. So what I'm telling Docker right now is, a Python 3.6 Alpine की image के अंदर run this shell, and -it means make it interactive. Okay, I want to be able to use that shell, मैं उसमें जाके commands run करना चाह रहा हूँ. And उसके बाद उसने मुझे क्या किया, एक prompt दे दिया, right? And what does this prompt do now? What has happened over here? Last time when I ran it, my container simply quit. Is the way my container hasn't quit? I've started the container and I have access to the container right now. So अगर मैं ls कर रहा हूँ अभी, so the files that I'm seeing over here are not files of my host operating system. These are all files of the container. ठीक है ना? तो मैं container के अंदर आ गया. I'm using the files inside my container. Now इस container हमने container start क्यों किया था? What was the purpose of this container? Python use करने के लिए, right? तो उसका मतलब सबसे obviously ये है कि now I have a shell. So if I write Python, I have Python, right? And I have Python that is in an isolated environment. इसमें अगर मैं pip install कुछ करूँगा, that is inside this container. It is not on my host system. इस container को मैं बंद करूँगा, तो वो सारी चीजें चली जाएंगी, right? So this is essentially something that demonstrates the power of Docker. जिसमें आप एक Python file में create करके run, I can just run Python over here, and then I can say 1 + 1, and obviously it's going to start using that, right? और जब मैं इसको exit करूँगा, what has happened? The container is gone. ठीक है? जो एक environment खड़ा किया था, it has deleted that environment for me, right? So there's obviously management stuff. You can restart containers, you can build on them. There's stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff. The whole point of this exercise is for me to give you a glimpse of what containers are. How do we start getting to use them, right? This was an important चीज ये कि you don't have to use them. एक term use हम लोग करते हैं कई बार, जैसे कि हम अपने application को containerize करना है, right? And that sounds scary कि यार मैं अपना code change करना पड़ेगा, अपनी scripts change करनी पड़ेंगी. You don't have to do any of that. आप एक database अपने machine पर run कर रहे हैं, stop doing that. Start using Docker for that, right? And with just that one step, you started using Docker. And aisa, once you start getting more comfortable with it, once you start understanding its commands, you can start involving more of your application into it, right? One final thing that I want to share in this demo before we move on is हमने अभी एक isolated environment की बात की है. Now, obviously, अभी हम लोग पीछे अपने file system देख रहे थे, तो मुझे Linux का एक file system नजर आ रहा था, and I'm on a Mac. So, at some point when I'm doing development, in this particular case, मुझे Python का environment चाहिए, I will want to share my files, right? I want to say कि मेरी कुछ फाइल्स पड़ी हैं मेरे होस्ट सिस्टम के अंदर और ये फाइल मुझे कंटेनर में चाहिए और जब मैं इनको होस्ट पे चेंज करूं क्योंकि मेरा जो एडिटर है वो होस्ट पे है तो ये कंटेनर के अंदर भी चेंज होनी चाहिए, राइट? Now that is again a very basic fundamental requirement from a container और उसके लिए भी उन्होंने एक फ्लैग क्रिएट किया हुआ है which is called volume -v करके. You probably already seen it. I was already using it in between. तो essentially उससे होता क्या है कि it creates a volume link to that particular folder inside your image. फिर आप उस इमेज के उस कंटेनर के अंदर जाके चेंज करेंगे उस फाइल को तो आपके होस्ट पे चेंज होगी, आप होस्ट के अंदर उस फाइल को चेंज करेंगे तो आपके कंटेनर में चेंज होगी, राइट? सो दैट इज समथिंग दैट इज super useful. So let's see if I can okay. All right, so I have a new command here. Docker run -p. The first belongs to my container. The second belongs to my host. So I want to link these ports up. Then I have the -v, which says कि ये मेरे सिस्टम का पाथ है, होम, डेव, प्लेग्राउंड, स्टेजिंग डाउन, और कोलन के बाद is another path that is the path of the file system inside the container. Postgres. What is this going to do? From your perspective? ठीक है ना? तो it is linking this particular path of my file system to /dump in my container, right? ठीक है ना? तो अगर मेरे पास इस फाइल सिस्टम पे एक डंप पड़ा हुआ है तो वहां पे वो डंप के अंदर फाइल अवेलेबल हो जाएगी और मैं फिर पोस्टग्रेस से उसको लोड कर सकता हूँ डेटाबेस के अंदर, राइट? इफ आई वांट टू सी द डेटाबेस आई विल यूज दिस कमांड और अगर मेरे पास इस पाथ पे कोई डेटा पड़ा होगा तो वो मेरी डेटाबेस को ऑटोमेटिकली सीड कर देगा स्टार्ट होने के बाद. I'll have an initial data set that's already there. Reverse side. हमने भी देखा कि मैंने कंटेनर जब किल किया था तो सारा डेटा लॉस्ट हो गया था, right? Now if I'm using a database that's not very helpful क्योंकि अगर मैं हर बार डेटा डॉकर को बंद करूंगा तो मेरा डेटा लॉस्ट हो जाएगा तो that means that's not very useful. I can change the same command and I can point the volume to the place where Postgres stores its data, right? तो इस कंटेनर के अंदर जहाँ पे Postgres data store करता है और वो मैं data अपने volume में कहाँ रखना चाहता हूँ. I can define both of these things. So what will happen is कि जब ये Postgres की database बनेगी, it will create a database की files बनाएगा कंटेनर के अंदर and those container वाली files will get written into my host system, right? तो जब मैं कंटेनर को kill करूँगा तो मेरा डेटा किल नहीं होगा, मेरा डेटा होस्ट के अंदर पड़ा हुआ है. When I start my container again, it knows where the files are, वो होस्ट से फाइल उठाएगा और उससे डेटाबेस को यूज करेगा. So my database data will never go away. And if I want to reset my database, I go and delete those files, database reset over. I start from new again, right? So this is something very simple but yet very powerful within Postgres. Please.
इसमें आइसोलेट यानी जिसको भी डेटाबेस चाहिए हो वो must have to create a copy and
तो again so in the most basic case scenario yes आप अपना पूरा कॉपी बना लें अपनी लोकल फाइल सिस्टम में but you can get a lot more fancier. This is just the basics we're talking about. You can share volumes across images, right? So मैं कहूँगा कि अच्छा मैं ये डेटाबेस का डेटा ही मैंने वॉल्यूम में डाल दिया and then several containers can access that same volume as well, right? तो उसकी इस तरह की एडवांस फंक्शनैलिटी भी इसके अंदर अवेलेबल है that you can use. So we ran through a few commands. This one इसमें one thing I didn't talk about by the way was -d, which means daemon. इसका मतलब ये होता है कि वो background में चले जाता है. So when I run a database, I don't want to constantly monitor the process. मैं तो क्या start में बस खुद ही maintain करो, तो -d करूँगा तो वो background में चले जाएगा. In this case, I'm running MongoDB 4.3.2 specific. Also, ये code defined किया हुआ है. Something we do saw that. This is again the same thing. In this particular case, I've started up an HTTPD, an Apache server, और फिर उसके अंदर मैंने उसकी HTTP docs के साथ मैंने current working directory को link कर दिया है. Now, what this will do is कि मेरे current working directory में जो भी HTML फाइल होगी वो इसके HTTP docs में चली जाएगी. And HTTP docs is the default folder जहाँ से Apache serve करता है, right? तो जो भी मेरे पास HTML फाइल होगी वो इससे serve होना शुरू हो जाएगी. And then whenever I change something, it will reflect that in the container. मैं port 8080 पे जाके मैं उसको देख सकता हूँ कि कौन सी फाइलें serve कर रहा है. ये this is a web server, so that's the job of the web server essentially, right? So this is very similar to any other tool that you use like Node.js, yeah, Django, or whatever. The same thing will apply over there. So we talked about, we saw a few ideas. You can obviously stop containers, you can start containers, you can commit changes into a container, right? Let's say मैंने SH करके कंटेनर के अंदर गया था, मैंने उसमें pip install करके चीजें change की. मैं commit करके बता सकता हूँ कि ये मेरे special image मैंने create की है, जो मेरे application को जरूरी है, और जब मैं next time इस image को start करूँगा, तो उसमें वो सारी pip install चीजें मुझे मिलेंगी, right? I can obviously remove containers, I can remove images, I can list ps का command आपने देखा था मैं use कर रहा था check करने के लिए कि कोई चीज चल रही है या नहीं चल रही, right? I can list all the images and I can specifically run commands inside running containers, right? कि अगर for example एक database का container चल रहा है, उसमें जाके मैंने कोई command run करना है तो I can use this exec command as well. So demo that happened already. अब हमने भी extension की बात की है commit के साथ, so let's take that a step further. Obviously, if I want a more structured environment, I can't go around doing IT into containers और फिर उनके pip install करूँगा, फिर मैं उसको jack commit करूँगा, right? One-offs is fine, मगर as a structure I can't do that. I need a more formal way of creating images. So how do I create an image? I create an image by something called a Docker file, and a Docker file is essentially a set of instructions that shows you कि image के अंदर क्या-क्या होना चाहिए. So you'll always extend from an image. इस केस में मैं node की image से extend कर रहा हूँ. मैं उसकी work directory set कर रहा हूँ कि जब मैं कभी container के अंदर आऊँ तो कहाँ पे उसको जाना है. मैं उस पर चीज़ें और install कर रहा हूँ like yarn, ठीक है ना? या मैं और git वगैरह इंस्टॉल कर रहा हूँ उस पैकेज के अंदर, राइट? मैं अपनी फाइल्स में कॉपी कर रहा हूँ, राइट? This is all stuff that I might need. I may not need some of this. I'm running certain commands. I'm exposing certain ports, and at the end, I'm running the application, right? So this Docker file, by the way, is for one of our applications. ये पूरी image तैयार करता है application के लिए, and at the end runs the application as well. तो जब मैं Docker run करके इस image को run करूँगा, तो it will start my application, right? So this is an example of taking something as straightforward as Node and extending it for my own application, and it's not very hard essentially. I can build once I have the Docker file. I'll use the build command to build my image, and then I'll just run it using the Docker run command. When I have multiple containers, I have something called Docker Compose. I can create a config file that can manage multiple containers for me, and then I can ship this configuration to all my developers, and they just need to run one command on these सारी services मेरी, MySQL है, मेरा backend services है, मेरी frontend services है, they'll spin up without any additional work to be done, without anything to be installed. Once I have Dockerized my application, there's something called Kubernetes that helps deploy your application in production. This is obviously very advanced, but something that you can look into once you've gone through the basic stuff. Here's a course that got recommended to me. It's again a beginner's course. You can go over there, online interactive, you can play with it. So just again get used to this thing, so that when you actually have to use it, you know what it's all about. And some more resources. Obviously, get the sites shared on the group so that everyone can see this. Brett Fisher is one of the guys on Twitter who's really active. He's a Docker captain. He shares a lot of cool stuff about Docker. And he also has a pretty good course that you and I did when I started off, which is called Docker Mastery. Over here. Worth checking into.